think we're live.
All right.
Hey, Facebook community.
Welcome, everybody.
Good evening.
First thing you want to do, give us a like so we know that you can see this. Just hit
Yes.
like about 5 or 6 or 7 times. Yep. We just want to make sure that everyone can see this and that you like what you're seeing. So go ahead, hit like a bunch.
Can you hear us? That's also important.
Audio is good too.
Audio is important.
Give us some hearts if you've got audio.
And it's not too early to share the love and hit share button.
Yeah, please do. Comment and share. Ask questions as we're going along. We'll get back to them afterwards. Share this up though. It's great information. It'll help lots more people. The more people that see it. So share it up. But let's get started. Let's get into raising healthy families.
Raising healthy families.
What a better topic to be talking about. Who doesn't want a healthy family? So that's what we'll go through. Action steps today. I'll just lead off with them. The first thing that you can do to make your family healthier is to take your own health as serious. Make it a priority. Your kids and your parents and your brothers and your sisters, they are going to see your actions and they'll see it working in your life. So your actions and your habits are contagious. So make your health a priority. Find a couple things that you can be doing, and it'll trickle down into your family. Other action steps, for those of you that are guests and aren't patients in our office yet, we'll have a special to come into the office. We'll give you all the details for that at the end. And we're also doing a drive to get more spinal motion and wobble cushions into schools. So again, we'll let you know about all these things as we're going along. But you might as well start with the end in mind. Take responsibility. If you're a new patient, go ahead and set up an appointment and participate in this wobble drive. What an amazing goal to make schools a healthier place. So our mission, we're doing this. We do what we do so that you and your family can live your lives to the fullest, so that you guys can give the most of yourselves to your families. About us, I'm Dr. Tim Losby. I work in MaxLiving Lexington.
Dr. Matt, I work in MaxLiving West Columbia.
I'm Dr. Parks. I'm in the Harbison location off Bauer Parkway.
And we're all parents ourselves. So I'm a father of 1. Dr. Matt.
Father of 4.
Holy.
No one's counting though.
Said that. Wow. That was 3. And that's it for there. We're all part of the ICPA, which is the International Chiropractic and Pediatric Association. So we're all members there, Webster certified as well. So we get to take care of all the maternal and pediatric in our office. And one of the biggest things that we pride ourselves in is taking care of families in our health centers. So there's a couple of pictures of us. Dr. Matt. Adjusting kids in there. But if you walk into any of our health centers are flooded with families and kids. You probably trip over 15 kids walking into our office every single day. And it's something that we absolutely love and have a huge passion for. So
I'll tell you, the reason that we do what we do, we all got into Max Living and chiropractic because we recognize that there's a great problem in the world. And the problem is our healthcare system. Let's call it what it is. Our healthcare system is sick care. And let me take a step back. We have amazing, genuine, kind-hearted people that love and serve people in our healthcare system. We have great doctors and nurses, and emergency care, it is top-notch. But when you use it as healthcare, it's shown to be extremely ineffective and expensive. And I'll go through a couple of reasons why. But the main flaw, or the main 2 flaws that we're seeing in
the screen.
Okay. The main 2 flaws that we have in our healthcare system is, number 1, that the treatments do not address the causes of problems. So fundamentally, an important thing to know, and something that you can lead your family in, is recognizing that symptoms are not in themselves problems. Symptoms are signs of problems. Symptoms are your body's natural way of dealing with a situation. An easy one to latch on to is a fever. Think about when your body has a fever, it's doing something for a reason, right? It's heating up your body temperature and it's getting things out of you because something got in you that isn't necessarily there. Now, traditional healthcare approach is a fever is a bad thing because it feels bad and we need to do something to help your child or yourself feel better. But think about that. If you're suppressing the fever, ultimately, what are you doing? You're allowing this invader to live in your body longer. Another huge one I love to lead through this time of year is coughing and sneezing. I can't tell you how many people in the last week have told me, man, my allergies are just getting the best of me. I've got this cough. I've been sneezing. Think about this. The cough has a purpose too, right? When you're coughing, what are you doing? You're getting something out of you that isn't supposed to be in you. So taking something like a cough suppressant, now you're dulling that reflex, and you're not getting stuff out of you that needs to. So when you think about why do so many people get a cough this time of year, sometimes it can be something in the air. Your body might be reactive to it. But most of the time, it's your body needing to change the cells in the back of your throat. See, when it's hot outside, the cells in the back of your throat can be very, very thin because they don't need to heat up the air very much. When the temperature drops like it did this last week, guess what? Now you've got to get new cells in there that are a little bit thicker to warm up the air more before it gets into your body. So coughing is your way of getting rid of the old and coming in with the new. So the cough, the sneezing, it's not necessarily a bad thing. But the point being, it's important to honor your symptoms rather than suppressing. And that's one thing that our healthcare system misses the boat in. You look at the majority of expenses in healthcare are to manage chronic disease rather than address the cause of why these chronic disease came up. 80% of healthcare visits are for that reason, is to address chronic disease. But the solutions given aren't to address the causes of chronic disease. The other thing is traditional healthcare is incredibly expensive. And there's multiple reasons why, but the main reason being the insurance-based healthcare system. Insurance drives up healthcare costs like crazy. If you go into a hospital setting and you get an aspirin, something that costs maybe 10 cents, the bottom line is going to be somewhere around $50. You look at simple testing being done, can be hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Now this gets baked into your insurance rate. So think about this. Most people pay for healthcare every single month, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. That adds up to thousands of dollars a year, just in case they end up in that sick care system because they know the bill is going to be sky high. So the two main problems: not addressing the cause and not taking personal responsibility for your own health in your finances and relying on your insurance. But at the end of the day, you're going to pay thousands and thousands. Now, that's not to say you don't need to get health insurance, but if you're looking at your family situation and how you want to manage your health in the future, you maybe put a priority on making sure that you don't have to enter into that system in the first place. And that's something that will help you through. So unfortunately, you look at the health of kids these days, and it's not pretty. And we'll go into a couple of the reasons why, but kids are sicker than ever. Obesity in children has tripled. In adolescents, it's quadrupled. Kids these days are getting adult conditions, meaning that we're seeing more and more kids that are diabetic, that have asthma, that are dealing with depression, anxiety. Just heartbreaking when you think about kids dealing with depression and anxiety. Now, how did this happen? It's because we ourselves as parents, for the most part, are leaving our own health on the back burner, and it's trickling down into our kids. When we become responsible for our own health, we also have to recognize that our children's health is also our responsibility until they get to a certain age. So what's the solution then? The solution is something we call the 5 essentials of health. And we'll be going through each of them, but when you address these 5 areas in your health, you will get healthier. Now, when you neglect one of these, or say you just don't know about it, or you're not applying it to your life, it is going to catch up to you. The 5 essentials are listed there: core chiropractic, nutrition, mindset, oxygen, exercise, and minimizing toxins. The first one we're going to go through for you, Dr. Matt, is what you can do with your family nutritionally.
Absolutely. We have to start off with sugar. So what you have to know about sugar is that it's more addictive than cocaine, more addictive than heroin. It lights up those brain pathways, the same ones that all these drugs light up. And cancer cells, your immune system loves sugar. Right now in our country, adults consume nearly 71 grams of sugar a day. That is an insane amount of sugar. This is added sugar. This is not fruit. This is what's in coffee creamers. This is what's in ketchup bottles, barbecue sauces. This is added sugar that companies have added that's processed. Also, our kids right now are consuming 30 gallons of sugary drinks a day. Because a lot of times people will say, I don't eat sugar, but do you drink it? And a Starbucks Frappuccino can contain, nearly a 2 liter of Pepsi or Coke. So it's an insane amount of sugar. If you want to strengthen your immune system, prevent all of these chronic diseases for you and for your kids, the one thing that you have to avoid, absolutely starting today, is sugar. Typical childhood diet, and this goes along with culture. Culture is not what you say, culture is what you do. So if you're taking notes, culture is not what you say, culture is what you do. And right now, your kids are modeling, they're emulating everything that you're doing. So if you're consuming sugar, the drinks, the food, processed foods, they're going to do the exact same thing. And unfortunately, 45% of our kids don't eat fruit daily. 40% of our kids are eating fast food daily, and over 50% of our kids are having poor nutritional quality. So you can see these statistics are not getting better, they're getting worse. And that's what's unfortunate. So we have to be the role models at our schools, in our communities, at our churches, and set the precedent, set the bar high so that kids can follow our example. I love this picture because if you give, a kid something from McDonald's or a donut compared to broccoli, are they going to pick the donut or are they going to pick the broccoli? Well, absolutely, they're going to pick the donut. And what this is saying is that the greater access to unhealthy foods is just going to encourage poor food choices. So if your goal is, I don't want my kid to eat this, then don't bring it into your house. I know it sounds simple, but it really is that simple. You're going to eat what's right in front of you. So you want to admit this from coming into your house. When we talk about fat, protein, and carbohydrates, fat, it has to be a healthy fat. It cannot be processed fat. So healthy fats, avocado, almond butter, raw nuts, wild sockeye salmon. You want to avoid the vegetable oils, those rancid, unhealthy, toxic, processed canola oil, grapeseed, safflower, sunflower oils that are not in their natural form. Protein, grass-fed, organic, as much free-range, pasture-raised as possible. You're not just what you ate, you're what that animal ate. So if that animal ate grains, corn, and soy, which is what happens to farmed fish, they're fed corn and soy pellets. You're getting those high omega-6 fatty acids. What you need is to increase the omega-3 fatty acids, which is what's in fish oil that you consume. And then carbs. Vegetables are carbohydrates. That is the best carb out there for you, is vegetables. And you want to avoid these refined carbohydrates, especially bleached flours that are sold all over Costco, Food Lion, even at Trader Joe's and Aldi.
I think nutritionally, a good rule of thumb is if you wouldn't feed it to your pet, you shouldn't feed it to your kids.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't give your pet McDonald's, but we give our kids Happy Meals.
I've seen that before. So like Dr. D'Onofrio had his cute little skit. He said he had a kid with Doritos and they said, no, don't give those Doritos to the dog. That's not healthy for the dog. Oh, but here you go. You can have the Doritos like you, the small child. You. I'm like, what?
I mean, think about what happens when you go to a restaurant. Like, what does a kid's menu look like? It actually breaks my heart every time I go to a restaurant now, and it's chicken fingers, pizza, hamburgers. We all know this is not what our kids should be eating,
Mm-hmm.
but like we give our kids these poor quality, low nutritious items, but we give adults grass-fed burgers and sockeye salmon, like the stuff that you're supposed to eat. These are the things that our kids should be also eating. And we have this phrase we use in our office all the time, and it's this: healthy kids become healthy adults. But the reverse is also true. Sick kids become sick adults. And that's something that we absolutely want to avoid. Right now, 85 million Americans consume fast food daily. That number has to decrease. I drive by Chick-fil-A every single day, and I kid you not, you could almost make 2 circles around that drive-through. It's just
they should call it
insane.
A park through. You got to park there.
It is a park through. They should call it that for sure. Let me transition to the next slide. All right, so I used to be a marketing major. I love talking about food labels and what the front of a package says versus the back end of it. My marketing teacher used to tell me you could put lipstick on a pig, but what is it still? It's still a pig. So everything on the front of a food label on that front of the package is lipstick. And the only way to know if it's a pig is to flip over that package and to see what's actually inside of it. And the best food out there that you want to consume has no nutrition label, it is what it is. Right? The more ingredients you have in that item, it means the more processed it is. And then the first 4, 5, 6 ingredients is sugar. That product is mostly sugar. And the point being is that you have to choose something that's either food by God or food by man. And food by man or food by woman is just processed food. Food by God is natural food, which is what you want to consume. If you eat something that does not rot, you're going to rot, right? If you eat something that does not rot, you're going to rot, which would be like a Twinkie. You cut a Twinkie, it's going to be exactly the same 10, 15, 20 years from now. If you cut an apple, it'll turn brown. It'll eventually dispose. So if you eat foods that rot, you're going to live. But if you eat foods that do not rot, you will rot. And that's a really important principle. And when it comes to choosing foods like healthy fats and whole grains and grass-fed meats and fruits and vegetables, this influences your weight. It influences chronic diseases. It also influences like mental health, emotional health, but also hormone regulation. This is something that Dr. Parks is going to hit on of testosterone and estrogen. These things have to be in balance, and the foods that you eat can absolutely disrupt this.
Yeah, so the endocrine disruptors is a huge one. When we talk about when kids are transitioning, when they're going through puberty, like this is super important, because why puberty is so important is this is when the development of organs actually transfers over. So you actually get your adult organs and how things are actually functioning. So when you have the endocrine disruptors and the testosterone imbalances and the HCG imbalances, it disrupts this pathway. And people going through, or adolescents going through puberty at different ages, and when they're where they should or should not be going through these things. A big thing goes along too with how they develop through puberty is the hormones and the neurotransmitters in the brain and how they function. So depression and anxiety can skyrocket when they have these malnutritions going through this transitional period, but also the effect on the spine. So when you go through puberty, the effects on the spine, and why we take x-rays on a lot of our kids in our health centers to make sure that when they do develop this way, that their bones and their ligaments and their spine is in the proper position so they can sustain this. So that's a huge one, in healthy development at a good age. When they're going and transitioning through puberty, you have to increase your macro and micronutrients during this time to help support these transitions and support their cellular structure. So making sure they're doing their supplementation, they're eating good nutrition, and again, instilling that at a young age. When they go through puberty and then into their adult years, they already have these things ingrained. So it's not necessarily how they grow up in their genes, but it's their lifestyle that dictates how they go through these transitions in life. So it's a really big issue when it comes to the endocrine disruptors and what we consume in our body, not only for the pounds that the kids are putting on nowadays, unfortunately, with obesity being skyrocketing in kids nowadays, but it's also the malnutrition. We're overfed society, but we're also extremely malnourished, and we're not getting the right macronutrients and micronutrients that they need in their body. So making sure supplementation's on point is going to be very important through these times in protecting those hormone layers. If you have a teenager or a daughter that is going through puberty right now, one of the biggest things is protecting those hormonal layers. So omega-3 fatty acids are super important at this point to help them transition not only PMS, but menstrual cramps and all the fun things along with that time. So the men didn't want to talk about this, so I had to take this slide, but thanks, guys.
She did a great job. Great job, Dr.
That. Also, along with hormones, our sedentary lifestyle. So if you just take an average day, adult, kids, you wake up in the morning. So for instance, you wake up in the morning, a child, they drive in a car to school or on a bus, they sit in a classroom. Unfortunately, physical education has been being pulled a lot from schools for a lot of different reasons. I'm not going to get into the political end of things, but they're sitting in a classroom, trying to sit there for countless hours, listening, trying to pay attention, might get squirmy in their chairs a little bit. Then they get home from school and they have to do homework. And then they get behind a TV because that's their like decompression time. That's what some adults say about that as well. But this being important because they get there and they sit down and then they go to bed. It's just this never ending cycle of a sedentary lifestyle. And like, we're setting ourselves up for it. Kids are not outside anymore, unfortunately, or being in social environments. 25% of our population, our adolescent population, is sedentary. 55% have sporadic bursts of exercise, and only 10% of our population is actually meeting the adequate amount of exercise to become non-sedentary. So this is super important that we are getting up and we are moving our bodies, not only to help with our hormones, but to help with our brain activity and our neurotransmitters. This right here is something that I'm extremely passionate about. This is our wobble drive. We've done it the last 2 years. And what we do is our patients or our community members buy a wobble cushion. And that wobble cushion is matched by one of our offices. And those wobble cushions are brought into classrooms for these kids. So like I just said, that they get into school and they sit in a desk, they're not moving, they're all squirmy. These wobble cushions actually stimulate their brain activity. So not only does it pump the cerebral spinal fluid up and down the spinal cord, but around the brain, but it actually creates energy for these kids. And it creates this mental clarity for them as well. And I've heard so many teachers, we're so blessed to be able to take care of so many teachers in our health center, but I've talked to teachers that have had to purchase these wobble cushions on their own dime because they knew and they saw the effects and the benefits of doing that for their classrooms. So this wobble drive that we do, I'm extremely passionate about it. I know the other doctors are passionate about it as well, but for the whole month of September, you buy a wobble cushion, we match it, and then you also get an entirely free evaluation to be seen in our health center. And that evaluation is a $165 value. That is a consultation, a one-on-one consultation with you and the doctor. You do thorough exams, case history, posture, range of motion checks, any x-rays that are going to need to be taken. We waive that entire evaluation fee because, again, this is our heart and be able to give back to our community. So we're going to donate these to local schools. If you have a school, you can give a shout out. Maybe you could be one of the schools we get to donate to. How many do we do? I think we donated 150 last year, wobble cushions. Year before that, I think even more. But this is something that we have a huge passion for, being able to get the kids moving again. And how cute are those kids on that picture? I took that picture this morning, and they're just so cute. Super neat kids, which is wonderful. But get moving. So this is awesome. I love doing this. My daughter Lola and I are workout buddies. So she literally jumps out in the morning, puts her little sports bra on, her little tights, and we work out together. And this is a huge one when it comes to getting kids moving again. If you read some of these statistics on here, less than 22% of kids in the US ages 6 to 19 are getting the recommended hour of exercise. So that's moderate to vigorous exercise daily. And that's, 5 days during the week. Less than 30% of high schoolers are attending a physical education class, and that was back in 2015. They are wiping physical education classes out. And I don't understand why or any of those big things about it, but I know that we need to get our bodies moving. This is super important. It especially helps with our lungs, helps with our oxygen, helps with pumping nutrients throughout our bodies and our cellular structures and tissues and our organs. Also, a huge detoxification factor happens when you're breathing out on that carbon dioxide. We want to make sure that we're doing these things too, because if we're not, the things that start to happen from it. I just clicked on that one. Sorry, guys. I don't know how to get back to that. Did I do it?
Yep.
Okay, cool. And movement. So what happens when we don't move? Early thoughts of osteoporosis can happen when you're exercising. You're pulling on the tendons and the ligaments throughout not only the spine, but of every single joint in the body. So osteoporosis can happen at such a young age. And again, we're an overfed society, but we're really malnourished. So we want to make sure that we're focusing on the fun aspect of exercising and working out. Doing it as a family is also very important. Again, what I get to do with my kids, and again, showing them the path that exercise can be fun. It's not just to lose weight. It is to actually move your body in the way that God intended body to move in the first place. So huge passion. Their whole effects on neurotransmitters and brain development. When you're living in a sedentary lifestyle, your chances of having anxiety and depression are twofold. So you want to, again, make sure that you're moving your bodies and teaching kids, again, at such a young age.
Yeah, get that.
Oh, I have to do it again. Sorry, guys. There we go. Screen time. let's talk about screen time. There was a study that was done on kids that at the age of 1, 92.5% of these kids had already been exposed to screen time. And I understand, I'm a mom of 3. My husband's up in Charlotte, so I get I need 5 minutes by myself, watch this movie. But at what risk are we developing that and instilling that into our kids? So we want to make sure that we are limiting screen time with these kids. On average, in the middle school age, they're getting 7 hours of screen time. And that study was done before we went virtual schooling, and you can't even imagine what it is now. So they're on a computer all day for school, and then they are watching TV after school to decompress. I've heard that too many times, to decompress. And then they're watching TV before bed, and then they're going to bed. And then that's not even talking about like cellular devices that people are having or social media, because social media is it's a real thing. We're living in a generation of fear right now, and we need to eliminate it. I know for a lot of adults, we need to turn it off. I mean, not right now, because we don't want to turn it off right now. Okay, but don't turn it off right now. We're leaving on social media right now. But
What's the share button too? I got it.
This is good screen.
Get everybody in there. Oh man, no, I lost my third train of thought. Yeah. Well, a scary fact that I was reading about: 82.6% of Americans or people, adults, get their news information from social media. 82.6% get their information from social media. And you guys, you can put anything on social media nowadays. Yes, it may not be taken off social media, but there's a lot of information out there, and you need to know how to filter that information. You need to look at the sources of where this information is coming from and actually get to the root cause. But the most important thing is you need to have somebody in your corner, MaxLiving doctors or people in your corner that can help steer you in the right direction and actually give you the fun facts that, or the true facts, and not have the fake news out there. Fake news. That's a precedent. I'm sorry, I didn't know where that came from. But we want to make sure we're making sound decisions and where we're getting our information. This important, we are the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with, and they spend the most time with. So making sure that you are surrounding yourself with people that are building you up. If you're around people that have a negative attitude or eating terrible food and not working out, they're living an unhealthy lifestyle, guess what? You're going to adapt that lifestyle as well. So you are the average of the 5 people to surround yourself with. So make sure that you're choosing your friends wisely, and you are making sure that you have that community around you.
Well, for your kids too, the 5 people they spend the most time with are you, right? Or your family, their parents. So recognize that you are having a huge impact on your children with the decisions that you make. So let's talk about the power of the immune system and this innate immune system that God put inside our bodies. I mean, talk about unbelievable after thousands and thousands of years that we're still around as a species and stronger than ever. Think about just how incredible your body is, the things that you fought off in the past that could have taken you down, but they didn't. Your body adapted to it and got over it. Let's talk about natural immunity, because that's something that our bodies are primed and programmed to do from day one. With or without intervention, our bodies know how to heal and recover. And they've shown this with kids that grow up on farms. You guys may have seen this before, but kids that grow up on farms where they're outside in the germs with all the stuff in the air, they're 54% less likely to end up having asthma or allergies. Why? It's because they've been exposed to all this stuff and their body's been forced to overcome it, and it serves them greater, longer in life. So think about this. As a parent, when your child's going through something, it sucks in the moment, especially for the child. You would never want your child to feel bad, but recognize that what they're going through now is only making their body stronger over time. So with that being said, let's talk about Vax, baby. Let's talk about your kids and what you should do. This is coming from me. So I'm not telling you what to do. This is after living and going through school and looking at outside stuff and reading and researching. This is kind of where what I've found out and what we've chosen to do with our family. So natural immunity versus artificial immunity. Natural, and Ideally, I remember growing up, I thought vaccines were like the greatest idea ever. I was like, man, if you can just give everybody in the world a shot that prevented them from these diseases, shoot, we could wipe out all these terrible diseases. And, you know, you get to start to thinking, shoot, what if they create a cancer vaccine and no one would ever have to suffer from cancer again? The reality is if that were the case, they would have done it by now. You know, and the reality is they may or may not be as effective as promised. And I'll get into that a little bit. But there's 3 things that I've found about vaccines that have given me, I wouldn't even just call it caution. It's just an absolute no for myself and my family. The first is the idea that it's unnatural exposure for your body. So think about this. You know, the idea is you kill a part of a virus or a bacteria and you put it in a vial and you put it in your arm and you get this small little tiny weak virus that your body gets exposed to, and then you get over it. And tell you what, if that was how it worked and it did work, awesome, sign me up for it. Actually, probably not still, but it's ultimately not how it works, and it's not how God created our bodies to deal with these things, right? You know, we weren't made to get them like just into our muscles or our bloodstreams. We were made to get them through our nose, our mouth, and through what we eat. So when we get them in a different way, your immune system is incredibly complex, but you're more or less bypassing several key steps of your body's recognition process. So that'd be first flaw for me. Second flaw, you guys have probably heard about the other ingredients in vaccines. They call them adjuvants, and they have a purpose. 2 purposes: prolong the shelf life so they can make it and give it to you a year or 2 later. Probably not a good thing for your body. The second thing is adjuvants are supposed to stimulate an immune response in your body. So they put some things in there that your immune system is going to have to fight off. More or less, it creates an inflammatory response intentionally for your body to charge it up so it can recognize this tiny little viral particle. Well, the problem with that is that we all respond to these things differently. And some people do okay with them and they don't have much reaction. But then there are plenty of kids that I've seen personally that don't respond well to it. Now, are you saying, Dr. Tim, you know, do vaccines cause problems? No, there's not a direct causation, but can they cause problems? You better believe it. And it's because of the inflammation that they create in the gut and in the nervous system. So do vaccines cause autism? I would say in themselves, no. Do vaccines cause neuroinflammation that can in turn cause autism? Yes, and that's been well studied. Now, the third thing, this is the thing that I've seen most recently. I read a book, I'll show you guys it later, called Plague of Corruption. And this is a governmental scientist that developed vaccines for the government for 25 years. And towards the end of her research, she started to find that a bunch of these people that she had met in the past and worked with were struggling with a condition called chronic fatigue syndrome. It's a newer diagnosis. It's only been around for the past 20 or 30 years, but they're seeing more and more people being, affected by it. And ultimately, they're paying it back to a vaccine that was developed in the late 80s. But the idea is that, think about this vaccine, this virus particle needs to be grown in some sort of medium, or they call it a cell line. So this cell line comes from some living animal. So it's a monkey kidney cell, or a mouse brain cell, or an aborted fetal tissue. Think about that, tough. But these foreign animals, say a monkey kidney cell, they have their own what's called a virome. You guys have heard of your microbiome or the colonies in your gut. You also have a virome, and the viruses that your body's been exposed to, and it's trillions of viruses. And humans have them, animals have them, but the viruses that are natural for animals aren't necessarily natural for humans. So all of a sudden, you're growing this viral particle on a monkey kidney cell, and that monkey kidney has something called SIV. And this is ultimately how they've kind of determined that. You guys can kind of track where that's going. But ultimately, these foreign viruses can end up causing major problems in our bodies too. So those are 3 things that I've found, looked at, studied, that have given me, I would say beyond hesitation, absolute no line the same. That's not me telling you to do anything. That's just what I've seen, what I've read. I would encourage you, if you are curious, if you're like, oh man, I never knew that, and you want to learn more about it, I'll give you a couple more resources towards the end. So the other reality is this, is when I was a kid, I got my shots, and 31 years ago, almost 32, this is maybe 16 shots that I got as a child. Now the vaccine schedule these days over 70 doses of vaccines by the time a child turns 18. It's just a lot, and none of it's been studied, how they react with each other or what the accumulation effect. And you could argue that there is a study going on, and it's the current health of the kids of our nation. And it's not good, obviously.
A newborn infant gets the same dosage of a 200-pound male at Hep B at birth.
So no,
Sorry.
a 9-pounder versus a 200-pounder.
Yeah,
It's
no difference.
and it's crazy, and it's hard to rationalize. And the further you dig deep into it, it's like, why do they do that? It's because they realize that, you know, people weren't wanting to give their kids a vaccine for a sexually transmitted disease because no parent wants to think that their kid is sexually active. So when you do it, you give it right to them right away, right after birth. Super crazy, super messed up. And over half the vaccines that are given to children are given within the first 15 months. So it's all those pediatrician visits, and it might just look like 2 shots, but ultimately that's 8 doses of vaccine because they triple and double them up. It's a lot. It's a lot. And some people do okay with it, and some people have really life-altering reactions to them. So another thing a lot of people don't know or understand is that vaccine companies have zero liability, meaning that if people get damaged or harmed from their product, they cannot be sued for it. The government actually gets sued. There's a separate court. If you have a vaccine injured child, you end up suing the federal government, and it comes out of taxpayer dollars. And they have paid out billions and billions and billions of dollars, but the makers of the vaccines aren't liable for it. So this came into effect in 1986. It's called the Act. You guys can Google 1986, the Act. There's documentaries about it. Super, super interesting stuff. But since that time, since 1986, since these pharmaceutical companies have zero liability for vaccines, the schedule has tripled, meaning that back when I was a kid, it was 18 or 20 vaccines, and now it's over 70, as we know. So this is just another strong thing. You look at what's gotten rushed to approval in the last year. It's been pretty quick. You look at other things that have been brought to market pretty quickly and given. Just an example I've got up here is a drug called thalidomide. If you guys remember, back in the 60s and 70s, thalidomide was given to pregnant women because it helped them with nausea. Now they found out a couple years later that this thalidomide drug caused major, major birth defects. Is that going to be the case with some of the stuff going on now? You know, I don't know. Time will tell, but my family won't be ones finding out. Correlation versus cause. Again, I'm not saying it's a direct this or that. I'm saying, is there a strong correlation? You look at the health of our kids these days, and the number of vaccines. Health has gone down, vaccines have gone way up, and there is a very strong correlation. Now, are there other factors that can cause a lot of these problems? You better believe it. And that's why we talk about the 5 essential areas of your health. They all are going to affect your health. And together, cumulatively, they're going to determine the outcome. So is toxicity part of it? Absolutely. But also exercise and sugar content and food additives and how much your kids are moving, like Dr. Park was talking about. Your mindset, you know, how stressed your kids are, which has been going through the roof these last couple of years. And then one we'll get into in more depth is chiropractic care and the connection from their brains to the rest of their bodies. So again, those books that I've read that were super eye-opening to me, vaccines, are they really safe and effective? Ultimately, that is the question. If you're going to be considering that for your children, are they safe? Are they effective? Now, assumptively, you would think if they're government approved, you think they would be, right? But if you look back at the research and the studies that were actually done to approve these things, the research is not strong at all. They've never been cross-researched with the other things that are given to kids and children. And are they really effective? The way the studies are designed would point to no. Amazing book. What's that?
Can I give my $2?
Yeah.
Okay, my $2. The Vaccine Safety Manual by Neil
Miller.
Miller,
Yeah,
thank you.
Same
author. Okay, so the vaccine safety manual, you can go. I like the practitioner guide because you can go vaccine by vaccine with that one. It's one of my favorites. The other one, Dissolving Illusions by Suzanne Humphreys. If you had any question about, polio and smallpox was eradicated by vaccines, that book was really eye-opening for a lot of people. So that's one of my two favorite books.
Yeah, spoiler. Polio, if you look into it, in both those books, was mostly eradicated by clean water. In the 40s, 50s, and 60s, there were major breakthroughs in the cleanliness of water. And we saw polio almost eradicated. As the vaccine was introduced, polio cases began to rise again with the introduction of the vaccine before they tapered off again. Plague of Corruption, that's the book I was mentioning by Dr. Judy Mikovits. She was the governmental scientist that ultimately got, it's really interesting read. She got attacked by the government. They came to her house. They tried to kill her. I mean, it's nuts because of some of the things that she started to speak out about. So what was her way of getting it out? It's a book. She gets censored very, very quickly when she makes a video. She made a video last year called Plandemic. You might have seen her interviewed in the Plandemic video. But Plague of Corruption, really, really strong book with a lot of good research in there. So ultimately, though, the key is don't just take it from me. I've done the time. I've looked into it. Now, if you trust me, great. Thank you. But educate yourself. Go out, dive this stuff out. Now, when I say educate, though, I don't mean go on to Google or Facebook.
Wikipedia?
Not strong sources. You guys, I know you know this, but Google and Facebook are highly, highly censored. The fact checkers pull anything contradictory to the narrative down. So the best way is to talk to people that you know and trust. Find people that are living lives that you want to be living, that have the health for themselves and their families that you want. Get to know them, ask what they did to get there, and get curious, ask questions.
All right, household products. I want to talk about toys and plastics because we talked about nutritions. We're going through toxins right now. There's a lot of toxicity when it comes to toys and plastics because if you've seen a little kid, they're going to be on the floor playing with these toys, putting them in their mouth, sometimes ingesting them. And there are 4 chemicals that are definitely able to be exposed to when you're a child. And one of them is BPA, phthalates, you've got flame retardant, and also lead. Those are 4 things you definitely want to be careful when it comes to your kids and around toxicity with toys, with plastics. Once you think about candles that are plugged into your house, think about those Glade air fresheners that are in the walls. Something that's very easy to do as a substitute would be beeswax candles. If you've got a diffuser, you can do some essential oils. Even for cleaning products instead of bleach, you can use essential oils. So like a lemon essential oil, tea tree oil, mix it with a vinegar, put it in a spray bottle. You can use it for toilets, bathrooms, your home, even a garbage disposal. Way better than all of the toxic chemicals that are just overly processed and all the household products you would get at like a Target or Walmart. All right, spinal development. We have to talk about the nervous system. We have to because nutrition, exercise, mindset, minimizing toxins are all 4 important. But out of our 5 essentials, core chiropractic is the most neglected system, but it's also the most important system. And your spinal column, your spinal cord is one of the first things to form in utero as a child. So I talked about healthy kids become healthy adults. It all starts as a child when your spine's developing. You've got 33 bones within your spinal column, and they all form 4 ways. This is how you know they're forming properly. Genetics, during puberty, bone density. So this is like the vitamin D, calcium. 3, nutrition. And then 4, physical exercise, which is why Dr. Parks talked about the wobble cushion. Why we're doing the wobble cushion drive is because we want to make sure your spinal column is developing at a proper rate. All right, kids, they respond so much quicker than we do because they haven't had the 30, 40, 50 years of car accidents, spinal trauma. They haven't had the text-neck syndrome doing this, at work, at home. Dr. Parks talked about sitting in the car, sitting at work, going back to sitting in the car, going back to sitting at home. They haven't done that as long as we have. And so there's hope for everyone to heal, but there's even more hope for kids. And it doesn't take as long for their nervous system to adapt and to heal through those subluxations with a chiropractic adjustment. And when it comes to moms to be, when it comes to babies, when it comes to kids, chiropractic does a lot of things, but think about relieving muscle tension. I mean, how many people want less stress, less muscle tension, especially if you're working from home? So many people are doing IT, things virtual, and they're just sitting in poor posture like this, and their heads are coming forward, their shoulders are coming forward, which is going to put pressure not just on the cervical curve, but the upper back, the neck. Those nerves are going to the heart, going to the lungs. This is affecting kids too, also at a young age, and putting their breathing in a difficult posture. So when they have things like asthma and respiratory issues, we wonder, well, where is it coming from? Well, it's posture in their desk at school, and it's posture on video games and using their cell phones. Also soothing irritated nerves, and then it's going to improve blood circulation. Who wouldn't want that if you were pregnant or even going through postpartum? That is wonderful for everyone to improve their blood circulation. All right, chiropractic care, how can it benefit babies, kids, even teenagers further? And the reason why kids are at such high risk when it comes to having nervous system problems is because it's the shoes that they wear, it's the posture that they're in, it's inadequate sleep. We wrote these all things down because we want to make sure we cover them all. Sports-related injuries, sedentary lifestyle, this is like with video games, poor breathing, environmental toxins. This isn't just pollution from outside. This is what they're breathing in their house. But all of this is going to put pressure on their nervous system. And you've got little kids that go through a trauma of birth, and they've got colic. They're only nursing on one side versus the other. They're bedwetting. And what we find with chiropractic is so many times it's a locked up sacrum, because what are kids doing when they're learning to walk? They're falling, not just once, not just twice, hundreds and thousands of times. They're falling on their rear end, which subluxate, causes misalignments with that bone, which those nerves are just going to the hips, the knees and feet, but they're going to the digestive system. They're going to the stomach. So think about acid reflux. All of these things can be tied back to the nervous system. And we're DCs. This isn't just doctors of chiropractic. This is doctors of cause. And if there's one thing that we hear from parents, it's, why are people just covering up the symptoms? Why are they covering up the symptoms? Why are they not getting to the cause? And if there's anything I want you to hear right now, it's this: 75% of adults who sit down in our office can trace back a lot of their spinal health symptoms back to when they were a child. It was birth, it was falling, it was a car accident, it was a sports injury. They are remembering the trauma they had as a child, and now as an adult, they're starting to suffer the consequences of it because they never maintained or fixed their spine. That's why it's so important to do something about your health now. And that's why we take care of so many families and kids, because they heal at such a faster rate now too. Supplements. These are meant to be a supplement to what you're already eating. It has to start with nutrition, but here's the sad reality. You would have to eat 7 apples today to get the nutrients you used to get from an apple decades ago. So that's why we've got these 2 different products that are excellent choices. They've been lab tested. Our kids have had them. They love them. We've got a Max Kids chewable, so you're getting all of the multivitamins in there. We also have the Max Kids probiotics powder. So not only is it going to create a healthy immune system and give digestive support, but if your kid's been exposed to processed foods, had toxicity from vaccines, toxicity from air fresheners, Glade plugins, then you're going to want to definitely make sure that you have a probiotic, also a multivitamin, especially if you've had chronic lifestyles in your home. But even if you haven't, these are everyday, everyone supplements for kids. And we're going to post a link in the comments section so you know how to purchase these, where to get them. We'll even try to include the cost for you as well. And then also supplements for parents. Parents, we're not going to forget you. Yes, we love kids, but we also love parents. We love the entire family. We have daily essentials for men, daily essentials for women. These are supplements that are what we call 5 in 1. So it's got probiotics, D3, multivitamin, B complex, magnesium, and fish oil. Those are the 5 that most people are deficient in. You absolutely have to take. And like I said, these have been lab tested. They're excellent. And we also have our Pure Path multivitamin as well in there included too. All right, so action steps. Dr. Tim alluded to this at the very beginning, but number 1, the most important is to schedule a nervous system evaluation for your child, for your spouse, immediate family member, extended family member, even a friend or a neighbor. If someone's never had pictures taken of their spine to know if they're in optimal position, you don't know if there's pressure on your nervous system causing symptoms you're currently going through. If you're not having symptoms, be preventative, be proactive. Don't be reactive like our current healthcare sick care system is. And then number 2, purchase a Max Kids supplements bundle, and we'll post the link below. Number 3, get moving, limit sugar, cut out processed foods. And this is something you can do as a family. It's not just a diet, it's a lifestyle. We want this to be something that you do year round, not just seasonally, not just for New Year's resolution, but it has to be a continual annual thing. Number 4, remember that your kids are following your example. So if you move, they're going to move. If you eat healthy food, they're going to eat healthy food. Do you have anything to add? Okay. All right, upcoming events. These dates are subject to change, but the point being is in October, we are going to do a few makeover events in our office to talk about immunity, which Dr. Tim has hinted at. We're going to go in a more expanded role of what immunity is and how you can boost your immune system. We're also going to talk about cancer. October is always Cancer Awareness Month, so we're going to hit that really hard. Also, one of our favorite events, October 9th, we're bringing it back. We're doing a shop at the dock at Costco here off Piney Road near Harbison, and it's a chance for doctors. We will meet patients at Costco. We're going to walk you through the store. This is what we buy. This is what our families eat. We'll teach you what to eat, what not to eat. We make it really easy. We take all of the thinking out of it for you. So it's a really simple process. How to connect with us. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. I would say probably the most important thing to do, though, is to like, to share, to tell your friends and family about this video so that they can hear this wealth of knowledge and information that we shared tonight. Anything else? Dr. Tim?
People that we haven't met yet, we're excited to meet you. Go ahead and make your new patient appointments. Have your spine, your nervous system evaluated. Of all the things that we talked about, by far the most important one is to make sure that you have a good connection between your brain and your body. And the way you see that is to check. You look, we'll take x-rays, we'll do exams. And if something's out of place, and let's just be honest, something likely is. Like you're probably sitting there dealing with some kind of problem that you've been putting off for a long time. And the best thing to do would just be address it before it causes more problems down the road. So we'd love to meet you. Patients that were on tonight, like and share it so more people can see this. It's information that doesn't get out, that needs to get out. What you guys are doing is 1, uncommon, 2, amazing, and 3, will not just change your families, but will change the world when it gets applied. So like and share.
Have a wonderful night, and remember, procrastination is the thief of health. So be proactive out there, everybody.